Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to be creating more cards using the One Sheet Wonder method. This time we're going to be using some 8x8 inch papers. So this is just to show, that you can use whatever size papers you have in your stash and you are going to be able to create, a collection of cards. I'm actually going to be creating two collections today. That's why I've got two pads in front of me and both of them are going to be male themed cards. So I do struggle a little bit creating more masculine cards and I find that I never have any just to hand, just to send if I need a last minute card. So that's why I want to have a go at creating two collections, if you like, of masculine cards. But what I am going to be doing is giving away to two different winners each collection. So if you want to be in with a chance to win one of these collections, just leave me a comment in the comment section down below and that will enter you into this and we will reveal the winner in another video. So like my last video with the One Sheet Wonder where I did the 12x12s, I did a double sheet version. I'm going to be doing the same thing again in today's video. So I'm going to be using two sheets from each of the paper pads. In the grand plans, I've got two double-sided papers that I've picked, and in the Perfect Illusions, I'm going to have three sides. So I've got one double-sided and one single-sided paper to use. I've also got some just plain coloured cardstock to go with it because, I still want to make some really fantastic cards. By doing a One Sheet Wonder doesn't mean you only use these papers and nothing else. Of course you can bring other elements into it. We're going to have our sentiments and that as well. So really it's about just using the cardstock that you have rather than just hoarding it, much kind of like I do. So let me show you the papers that I've decided to use. So from our grand plans, so we have the two double-sided papers. So what's really important if you are going to use more than one sheet, especially if it is double-sided, is to make sure that they kind of coordinate nicely together. You want to make sure that they work. I would recommend if you're going to double sheet, use it from the same paper pad because these are a collection of papers. They're designed to work together and they have the same kind of colours and theme kind of running through it. So, definitely pick papers from the same pad and pick papers that will kind of work together. So this is one side, so we've got these moustaches and we've got this really lovely sort of texture. Then the other side, we have got the sunglasses and we have this, just this pattern here. So, but, if you had the papers together, they are going to work all together, whether you have the two patterns or whether you have the two kind of busier papers as well, these are going to work together perfectly. So to go with those, I've got two colours of plain cardstock. So I'm going to be using, this is the Ginger Pie, and we've got some navy blue cardstock. And again, I've just picked some colours that are kind of running through these papers. If you are creating a collection of cards, being able to coordinate like this is going to, give your cards a much more kind of professional finish. So that's what I've got from the grand plans. And then going a little bit more simple from the other paper pad. So this one here is the double-sided. Ideally, I don't want to use this side. I just want to be using these two papers here. But on some of my designs, there is going to be a third paper needed in which I can use this. But I really just loved how these kind of went together. This one is a textured card, so it is just a single-sided sheet. And I've also then got some tan brown cardstock, and I did pick a piece of chocolate card as well. I thought these would work really nicely together. This is a 12x12 inch that I just had in my stash because I don't have any sort of chocolate brown in the Craft Perfect. But again, these papers, they do all work together even if I use this side as well. But I really just love how these kind of four papers go together. So we'll see how much of this side you actually see. So they're the papers from the second paper pad. So this is going to be maybe a little bit of a mature set of cards. The other one with the moustaches and the sunglasses is going to be a little bit more kind of youthful. So now let's talk about the actual cutting of our sheets. So as I said, I'm going to be creating two identical sets of cards. We are literally just using two different papers here. And again, these are 8x8 and I believe I'm going to get maybe 6. So I'm going to get 6 pieces from each sheet, meaning that I'll get 12 from both sets. So, you know, potentially you could make 12 cards here, but I'm really only looking to make kind of 5 or 6. So again, I might end up with some pieces left over. So what I'm planning to do is kind of cut down my cardstock to begin with. Again, because this is going to mirror each other, I can kind of mass produce these. So for now, let's get into trimming our card down. So I'm going to walk you through the measurements that I'm going to be cutting these down to, but if you do want to head over to my blog, I am going to have a post over there which will have all of these details written down. So the first cut I'm going to make is going to be 4.5 inch. That's going to leave me with a 3.5 inch piece here. Then I'm going to cut this piece. I've just rotated it. I'm going to cut this to 5.5. So I'll have a strip which is 4.5 by 2.5 inch. And then this piece I'm going to cut as diagonal, but I'm going to do an off-center diagonal. So I'm not going to line this up. I'm going to have this, like I said, just kind of off-centered. So I'm going to have something like that. So this is our 3.5 by 8 here. So again, I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to cut this down 1 3/4 inch to get a strip. I'm going to do a 1.5 inch strip. And then this piece is going to be 3.5 by 4 3/4. So I'm just going to turn this over just so you can kind of see the paper a little bit better against my grid mat. So with these two pieces here, of course you don't have to off-center it diagonally, you can cut it kind of as a true diagonal, but again I thought we'd go for something different. That is how we're cutting this one sheet wonder down from an 8 by 8. I'm going to go ahead now and just cut the other pieces down for the other cardstock. So now I have all of my papers cut. The one thing I would say, if you're using a paper that has a directional pattern, so for example these mustaches, make sure you do cut them so they are kind of top to bottom. The same with this piece, obviously we've got the sunglasses. Make sure that you trim it where the pattern again is top to bottom, just so you get it kind of the right orientation for your cards. So you can see that I've got all of my pieces now, so I've got doubles of each size. We can go ahead and start on our cards. Okay, so I've got my first card design. So I've used one of the smaller pieces. So this was the 1.5 by 3.5 inch, and I've used this bigger piece here. This is the 3.5 by 4 3/4, and I've cut some mats and layers. So let's pop this one together first of all. So I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid glue. So for all of my sort of background mats, I'm going to use this tanned, and then I'm going to use that pumpkin for the other collection. So let's pop our mat on first. So then I've taken this single-sided, so this is a textured card, and I've cut myself a chocolate brown mat on here. So all of the sizes, again, I'll try to include them all on my blog, but these, basically any mats and layers are pretty much going to go down in 1/4 of an inch increments. So we're going to pop this towards the top. So I'm going to work on the sentiments afterwards. I'm just, for the time being, going to just put the designs together. Then I've got this little piece here, so we're going to be using this side of the patterned paper. And for this one, I haven't matte and layered that one with the chocolate brown, but I have on the other papers, because I felt like this stood out a little better against this paper, whereas the other ones I felt like it needed something else. So there's our first design. I really love this paper. Again, it would work perfectly for masculine or feminine, but again we're going for that kind of masculine vibe here. So let's quickly just pop this together. So for our background here, we have got our pumpkin pie, and again this is just some really quick crafting. If you haven't got tons of time, this is going to be perfect. So the reason why I decided to mat and layer this in the first was because when I talked about, before we started actually cutting these out, we talked about directionality of the card. So again, I cut both of my patterned pieces up and down, but where I wanted to have it landscape then, neither of my patterns that I wanted to have really worked that way. So that's why I've gone for the two sort of patterned pieces on this particular card. And then for this one, I wanted that just to stand out just a little bit more. Even though it's not too bad, I did cut myself a mat and layer. The height is the same, but the width is, as I said, just 1/4 of an inch wider. And it just kind of helps those two patterns stand out against each other. So there we have our first design. So you could follow these designs, you could copy these and just use whatever patterned papers that you have, and it's just going to work really easily. And again, then afterwards we can add our sentiments. So here's our second design. So we're using our corners here, and we're just going to keep this really simple. We're not going to do any mats and layers for this because we just don't really have the space, because the way we've cut it to 5.5 is kind of the perfect size there. So once again, let's pop down our first mat. So I'm just using some regular glue here. In the last video I used double-sided tape, again just whatever you've got available. I have ordered a bunch of glue and tape runners as well from Create and Craft, so I'm just waiting for those to come in the post, just so I can do things like this where I just want it to be, you know, quite quick. This side on just there. And then we're going to pop our sentiment, I think, just down the middle. So these ones, again, going with the direction of the pattern. So there is our second card design. So this is going to be our next card design. So we've got one of the corner pieces, and this is the 2.5 by 4.5 inch. And all I've done on this, just to add a little bit of texture, is just to sort of distress the edges of this. So you get this little petal thing, it's got little blades just inside, and you can run it along, and it's just going to help just add, again, a little bit more interest to your cards without having to kind of add sort of too much on there. So there's our base. Let's add our corner. And then our distressed piece. So this is going to go sort of to the side. Again, I've done the same with this one. I've just run along those edges just to add a little bit of interest. So there's our third card design. So here is the design for card number 4. So what I've done is brought in just a square of the chocolate and that navy cardstock there as well, just to kind of break it up a little bit. So I've actually already stuck down my base. So this was one of our sort of larger pieces. So again, you could prop some of this up onto some foam, but all of these layers I am literally just sticking flat. I might add some dimension with our sentiment, and we'll do the same for this one. So there's design number 4 ready for a sentiment. So these are getting a little bit more kind of abstract really, but you know, again, it's using up those different pieces, different sizes. You can do this if you've got scraps. You don't have to cut into cardstock. You could just see what scraps of patterned paper you have left over. So here we have card design number 5. So we're using up some of these strips, and I've just cut myself a piece of cardstock as well, just to mat that onto, just to give it something a little bit extra. So these strips here, so this is the 1 3/4 by 3.5, and then I've just trimmed this just slightly bigger. And again, what I've done on all of these is just to stress the edges, again, just to add a little bit more kind of interest, because we have a lot of space on here, but that's why I like to have that coloured background, just to just add something a little extra, just so it's not so plain, really. So I've done these a 1/4 inch larger lengthways, and then I've done it so we've got a gap in the middle there, just like so. I find with these pattern papers, these remind me maybe a little bit of kind of hotel artwork, just that kind of abstract art that you can get in some hotels. And for this one, I'm going to do the combination that I haven't actually put together yet, which is the sunglasses and the moustaches. And I'm going to do, of course, the sunglasses on top and the moustaches on the bottom. So that is design number 5 done. So here is our final design. This is design number 6. So we've got the corner piece. So this is the first time that I've had to use the reverse side because I did end up with that same patterned paper left over. But just to break it up, I have just matte and layered this piece onto some of that chocolate brown, and I have distressed both this piece and then the edges of our matte and layer as well. And again, I've just done the same on there. So let's get this one stuck down to finish this design. So if you've got patterned papers at home, you know, you don't always have to come up with new layouts. Once you've come up with your sort of first set of layouts, you know, you can make a note of them, take a photo, and, you know, you can just recreate that same design. If you're creating, you know, with different papers, different stamp sets, things like that, you're not really gonna ever notice that you're following the same designs. And really, it doesn't matter even if you do notice or somebody notices. It really doesn't matter because you're doing something different each time. You're not really gonna notice too much, I don't think. And again, even if you did the same papers, you could give these as gifts. You could have these as just cards ready to go, easy cards in your stash. You know, to create these 12 cards here, this really hasn't taken too long. And again, because we're following you know, the same design, just using 2 different papers, you could literally create a set of cards with each of your patterned papers, and they could all be, you know, following these same 6 designs, and that is really okay. So we've got all 6 of our cards finished for each little collection. So again, this is just adding the papers, we've not added any sort of other decorative elements or any sentiments, but let's just take a quick look through them themselves. So again, these papers, like I said, just remind me a little bit of sort of hotel art, but you know, find some plain coloured paper that kind of matches in. It doesn't have to match perfectly, but you know, just finding a couple of colours within those designs, it's really going to make your cards look more professional. And just having, you know, different layouts and things, as I said, take some photographs of the layouts themselves, and you know, you can use these over and over again, and just adding that little bit of distress around the outside, it really does just kind of change the design up a little bit and makes it a little bit more kind of rough and ready. So these are then, I think, because they're colourful, they're a little bit more maybe youthful, perfect for, you know, a teenage birthday, you know, Father's Day cards, things like that. I think these are going to work perfectly with the other ones. I think would work, you know, if it's a granddad's birthday or maybe an older dad, something like that. I mean, obviously any of these cards will work for anybody. I'm not kind of being very specific here. I'm just saying that there is sort of a difference in the 2 kind of card sets. But again, yeah, it just kind of shows you what you can do with this 2 different pieces of patterned paper and just a little bit of coloured card. So the next thing to do is to add a sentiment. So I've taken this stamp set here. So this was by Crafter's Companion. It's just a simple happy birthday. I'm not sure of the proper name of it. You've got the happy birthday there, and you've got different sentiments to go inside. So I was rifling through my stash trying to find, I wanted different sentiments, to be honest with you, some birthday, something else, but I've used only 6 sentiments from this stamp set. So they are all birthday cards, but you know, you can never have too many birthday cards. cards just lying around. So I picked a piece of coloured cardstock, so I wasn't 100% sure kind of how I wanted to do my sentiments, but I have gone for coloured card. So for this colour here, I've gone for, I think it's the denim blue in the card, Craft Perfect, sorry, and because there is just a little bit of kind of blue in this paper here. It's more of kind of a bluey silver. This was really kind of the closest colour that I could find, and I have done on some of them just a circle of vellum to go behind it, just to help it kind of stand out a little bit, because I have just used some regular black ink there. So I've also used then my Hunky Dory. This is the Torn Edge Nesting Dies, the circle. So I thought this would work nicely because some of the edges, obviously we did kind of tatter up a little bit, and then I've just gone a little bigger. The only thing that I think is a bit of a shame is going from one size to the next. It's quite a large jump, so our sort of vellum mat is quite big. I did consider just doing it in white, so just matting behind these with white, but I'm just gonna go with how this is. So again, I'm gonna take a little bit of glue just to add my sentiment to the vellum, and then I'm gonna pop the whole thing just on some foam just to help it kind of stand up just a touch more. So that's how I'm going to do my sentiments. I'm just going to go ahead and stick all of my sentiments down, and then when I've done that, I can come back and look at our final designs. So let's take a look at our finished design. So I really love how these have come out. Hopefully you guys do as well. So this was our first set. So this one we have got Eat Cake. So again, I've just stamped that onto some, I think it's the chili red cardstock. I could have heat embossed and things onto this, but I just did some really simple stamping there, and again just added that little vellum circle to go behind it. We've got On Your Special Day. So again, just really simple, using up some of the scraps that you've got. Make a Wish. So, you know, you don't always have to have the busiest cards. Sometimes they can be more on the simple side, and they can be just as effective. What a great reason to celebrate. So again, if you've got some corner pieces, but you know, you can still add that kind of banner piece into the center. Today is all about you. So again, very simple in terms of there's not tons going on, but again, you don't always have to. I think I might add some Nuvo drops onto here just off camera as well, and yeah, when I post the pictures I'll have them with the Nuvo drops, just because by then they would have dried, just to add, you know, a little bit of a finishing touch to these. And then for our two corners we've got May All Your Wishes Come True. So that was our one set, and then this is our second set. So again, they're all exactly the same. The sentiments I've done are the same, and yeah, just a really great way of creating a little collection of cards. So again, you can give these as gifts. You can do lots of different patterned papers. You can do for different occasions. You know, you could give them as gifts, or you can sell them if you want to, but you know, really easy to put these cards together. These cards really haven't taken much time at all. I think most of my time today was spent trying to find the sentiments that I wanted to use. So when I go through my stash, it makes me realise kind of more than ever how much I really want to develop my own sentiment stamp set. Obviously you guys have seen a little sneak peek of it, but I'm really keen to get that going, because it's just gonna have everything in there for all different occasions. Yeah, and I just think it's just gonna be great to have it, and I know I can just go to that particular stamp set and it's gonna have all the occasions that I want, rather than having to dive around and try and find, you know, different sets for different sentiments. So definitely look out for that. But that is then our two sets of cards using the 8x8 one sheet wonder. If you head over to my blog, I will list details of all the cards and kind of the measurements, how to cut it and things like that. Again, both of these sets are up for grabs, so just leave a comment in the comment section down below and I will reveal the winner in one of my next videos probably. I want to do a behind the scenes video, so I'm hoping to do that next week. So I will reveal the winners for both of these sets in that video, so make sure that you do leave a comment and give this video a thumbs up if you did like it. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. I definitely want to explore doing some more one sheet wonders. Maybe we'll have a look at creating some of our own patterned papers, maybe doing some like A4 designs maybe. So hit that notification bell as well, so you get notified when I do upload my next videos. That's going to be it for today. Thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.